Guys, do you have sourdough starter and something doesn't seem quite right? Like maybe it's got like a kind of foul smell, maybe like a vinegar smell to it? I'm Melissa from Rooted Home and Garden. Today we're going to talk about why that's happening and what we can do to fix this problem. So I started my sourdough starter about 9 months ago, and I've been having a lot of fun doing it. Now, I don't bake every day. I try to bake something at least once a month, and I'm still getting used to it, but I'm here at the cabin. I've been here at the cabin for a couple of weeks now, and my sourdough starter is starting to smell like vinegar. Now, rest assured, it's not dying. It's not garbage. Don't have to throw your sourdough starter away if it smells like vinegar too. But we do need to do a few things to help fix it, because what is happening is it means it's just super hungry. I've been here at my cabin for a couple of weeks now, and it is warm here, which means that my sourdough starter needs to be fed more often than it does at home. I have air conditioning at home. I do not have any air conditioning here at the cabin. So this thing needs to be fed. Problem number 2. Do you see how much sourdough starter I have? So unless I'm planning on baking something, we don't ever want our starter to be this big. This is way too much starter. This is just wasting unless you're planning on using it. So I'm going to show you how much you should be putting in here to keep it correctly, as well as how to get rid of that smell. So the first thing I need to do is get out my discard jar that I keep in the fridge. This is where I store all of my discard sourdough starter before I end up using it for something. And as you can see, it's completely filled. It's probably about right here, very high. That's a sign I need to bake something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sourdough starter and I'm going to pour most of it into my discard. I know it looks like I'm dumping every ounce of it out, but trust me, there's going to be some left over. That is not going to be an issue. Truth be told, you only need about a tablespoon, and that's it. That's all you need to store. The less you store, the less you waste by adding more flour into it. The more you store, the more flour you have to put into it. We all know that. So we don't want to be wasteful with our flour. Even though flour is cheap, we don't need to be wasteful about it. The kids wanted casserole for dinner tonight, but I think we're going to have pancakes for dinner tonight. This is completely filled to the top. Whew, that's a lot. Now inside my sourdough starter, you can see I think that's actually more than a tablespoon. That's probably 2 tablespoons worth. So I actually could dump more of this out. So having a healthy sourdough starter, we want to make sure we get most of the sourdough starter out so that we can really keep this as small as possible. Step 2. We're going to add some water in it, not just regular tap water, but we want to use this distilled water or purified water. I have my water thing right over there. That's what I'm going to be using to fill this jar up. And what we're going to do is the ratio is usually 1:4:4, but I don't have a scale with me here at the cabin. I'm going to be doing it by just how it looks. If you don't have a scale as well like I don't, you want to do it where it's about a tablespoon of sourdough starter by like 1/4 of a cup of water and 1/4 of a cup of flour. There we go. I just added some water in here, and maybe that's a little bit more than 1/4 of a cup. That's okay. But remember, the more water we add, the more flour we do end up having to add. So this is going to be a little bit more than what I originally wanted, but for these purposes today, that's not a big deal. So I've got my wooden spoon here, and I'm just going to be stirring this in, kind of mixing the water and the starter up together, getting it kind of soupy is what we're wanting it to look like. Now I'm going to be adding the flour. Aren't my antique jars so cute? All right, so remember what I said? I said 1/4 of a cup of water and 1/4 of a cup of flour, but I think I added a little bit more water than that. So we're just going to pour it in a little bit at a time, and we're going to stir it. And you're wanting it to be more of a consistency where it kind of looks like pancake batter, kind of thick, not runny. Whether it's thinner or thicker, it really doesn't matter. As long as your starter is actually healthy, that's all that matters. Everybody has their own little idea of what starter should look like. And really, it's not going to make a worse or better starter. You just have to adjust the water when you're baking with it. So this is actually looking pretty good. I do like my starter a little thicker than this, so I'm going to add just a tiny bit more. Just keep stirring it up. See how it makes this little web as I stir it? That's the consistency I look for. I like the way that looks, and I think that looks like healthy starter to me. So now I am done. Push everything down. Now, the reason why our starter smells the way it does is because it means it's really healthy. Like if it were a child, it's like us feeding vegetables and fruit nonstop, but it's not getting the nutrients it needs. It's just, in a way, kind of too healthy. We need to make sure we're adding other things to it. So I always fed my starter with whole wheat flour, but from what I was reading it was constantly hungry. It was never actually in a state where it was not hungry. And that was because I was just feeding it too healthily. And so what I needed to do was actually switch to all purpose to give it a little bit of a break from all the nutrients, if that makes any sense at all. But since I've been feeding it this way, it actually has calmed down a little bit. It's no longer doing the sour smell any longer. So I'm very happy about that. So if you're trying to be as healthy as possible by using whole wheat flour and you're noticing a lot of smell, it's just because it's so active, it's so healthy, it just needs to be fed constantly. Well, we don't need to have to feed it constantly. So switch to all purpose once in a while. It doesn't have to be forever, but switching it will also help it be just a little more calm. If you're in a warm environment like I am, maybe having to feed it twice a day versus the once a day, which is what I was doing at home, is just not enough. The warmer it is, the more you have to feed. The colder it is, the less you have to feed. So in the wintertime, you're not going to have to feed it as often as you do right now. But again, if you're noticing that vinegar smell, that just means that it's really healthy, but it's really hungry and it needs to be fed more often. Or switching flour over so that it's getting different nutrients. And this is what it looks like. Oh, I love it. Very nice. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. See you next time.